Good morning, everybody. It is December 22nd. It's almost Christmas, and I am talking to my dear friend on our amazing podcast, Investing Across Borders, my dear friend, Christan Hiscock, who is in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, where it is what, -3 degrees.
-8 right now.
He was
Yeah.
in Cabo last week, so you can't have a lot of sympathy for him. But he is -3 degrees Celsius, which is about 10 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'm supposed to be in Toronto right now, where it's about the same. So I don't envy you for the weather, but I do think that you have a lot to share, whether you're cold, whether you're hot. We have known each other for about 2 years. We met through Jay Fissette, one of my very favorite clients, who's been on our show, of course, and who recently got his visa to run his business across borders. And Christan and I met originally through one of Jay's events. He was a coach. He was doing tech. He was doing all kinds of things, and we connected, but we didn't really connect in a major way until this past April, when Christan was promoting his new product, Influencer Soft, this amazing full service tech, CRM, everything all in one solution that we're going to talk about. And Christan and I were speaking in the chat and just started talking a little bit about real estate, which is a subject that's near and dear to my heart as well as his. And lo and behold, I discovered that he has a mortgage business and a financial services business and a whole bunch of other stuff going on. So we start chatting. And in the meantime, I'm in this other event with his business partner, unbeknownst to me, Carolyn Ricciardi. And the three of us are now business partners together in an amazing project we're working on, Creative Real Estate Academy. So I have the joy of bringing Christan, getting him out of bed early in the morning in Calgary to speak with us about all of the amazing things that he is doing. He is an extraordinarily heart-centered entrepreneur, focused on helping others and having an impact. He and his girlfriend, Carolyn, have 8 amazing kids, which is kind of crazy. And he is just a force to be reckoned with, as he has been. I'm seeing here 14 years old when you started your first business. What kind of business was that, Christan?
We did a little bit of the little box with chocolates and chips and put it into like different areas that didn't usually have a big machine, like
Oh,
vending machine. So it was a little vending machine business. Yeah.
cool. Well, you definitely are an entrepreneur at heart. Your head spins like mine all the time when we're talking. We both have lots of squirrels. You know, you have an amazing coach in Sharon Lecter, which has helped you to be very focused. And it's a pleasure to be your business partner, even to the extent that we are so far, and to be working with you and to be just involved in your life. So, Kristen, why don't you just give a little brief introduction to yourself and share a little bit about what you do for the world?
Yeah. Well, this is a correction. The lady is named Carol, not Carolyn. My business partner is Carolyn in some of our stuff, and
Didn't
Carol.
I
It's all
say that?
You said Carolyn because it's so confusing. So we're our best friend group actually, which is really cool. We call it C4. It's Carol and I, Carolyn and Chris, her
It's very
partner.
true.
So
It's very
it
funny.
gets
If
mixed
you
up
don't
pretty
start
bad.
with a C, you're out. You're done.
Exactly. And so, but yeah, thank you very much for having me on the podcast. I'm super excited to be here and share a little bit about my experience, one in business, one in cross-border business, and one just really trying to serve people. I get asked all the time, what do you do? And as you mentioned, you've seen, oh, you found out you do this and this. Well, my goal is I just believe in impact entrepreneurship. And I on a mission to start as many companies as possible that can go out there and do good in the world. I believe that the business world in a lot of areas, and especially some of the industries that I'm involved with, transactional, very not heart based, and we're wanting to change that. And so the whole concept of impact entrepreneurship is a powerful force for good, whether it's a social impact, environmental impact, and there's opportunities for business owners and entrepreneurs to come together in this environment that creates win-win-wins. And sometimes we're creating businesses that have multiple layers of wins in it. And it's this whole fact of this heart-centered entrepreneurship, like you mentioned. And the big differentiator between the heart entrepreneurship and just entrepreneurship in general is a heart-centered entrepreneur is always thinking of, if there's going to be a win, how are we all winning? If there's going to be a lose, because sometimes in business you have those downs, right? How are
You
we
have to
all
have the downs to know the ups too. You have to fail. You have to be willing to fail.
You have to be. And so when you do have that happen, though, what you need to make sure is that if you're in a heart-centered business and you have heart-centered business partners and whatnot, we're all going to take that down together. There's not going to be this differentiation. the biggest example when people ask what's a heart-centered entrepreneur is that is,
Yeah.
are we in it together in a group? Are we in it for the ups and the downs together? And there's not a selfish part of what we're doing. We're all winning and we're all taking the bumps and the lessons together.
That's very true. And you even named your company Cardia because that's the Greek word for heart. So all of the different ventures that you're involved in your Canadian-based company are Cardia branded, right? Where did
Yeah,
that come
so
from? Why Greek?
that's a great question. So there's two parts kind of, I always split my brain into two for people when they're asking me and diving deeper. So on one side, I have Cardia, which is Cardia Financial Group. And it's a financial services company primarily focusing on serving and supporting Canadians and people abroad to really get financial literacy. So we have right now 11 companies under that banner and one foundation. And so Cardia came about as when I was introduced actually to a gentleman, several years ago, and more introduced because I have a marketing background, which we'll also talk about, but that marketing side. And so he was looking at going out and starting his own brokerage again. He already had one, but he was, wanting to leave that partnership and start a new one. And so we were chatting about marketing ideas, but because of my background in finance, I've been over at that point almost a decade in finance. We had started talking. I started to draw out the vision that I had for the financial services industry and what could be done if you really bring that heart-centered approach to the financial services industry and stop being so transactional. And for him, he ran his mortgage brokerage a similar way, a very similar way in the way of that idea, and kind of next leveled it a lot of areas with his, client journey and how he really treats his clients and customers. And he was very well-known mortgage brokers. And so when we started jotting out all the different businesses that can come around, we just really aligned in that heart-centered approach and decided to join and create the company together. The long story behind that, but with Cardia, as we were looking for names and we were trying to find different ones, because at first we were going to call it Hero Financial, for hero, being a hero to your own family. And it really resonated with both Tim and I. But then what happened was that name we didn't have the domain for it. So we're like, and then it was kind of some scenarios that were happening. We're like, we should probably look for something different. And Tim and his wife, Tracy, actually came around this word cardia. And it was a Greek word for heart. So not as heart as in the organ, but heart as in the center of the human experience. And it just hit and resonated so much. And that's now why we call everything inside of that part of our world and the business that I do. That's where Carol and I and Tim are managing directors of that business. And then we have a bunch of amazing, great partners that have the different aspects of those 11 businesses. So you mentioned earlier, Carol Ricciardi, who's a business partner with ours in several of the ventures and just also a rock star in what she does in the real estate world. So that's kind of that Cardia, where it came from. And that one part of the brain. And then the other one is just briefly is we have a company called Influencer Technologies with a really good friend of mine, Jesse Doback, that I've known for several years. Met him at a mastermind. And this is kind of part to that heart-centered stuff of what we talked about, Lauren, about just building relationships and just having a heart. So I met him, 6 years ago at a mastermind. I was working in marketing, had a little marketing business, I was a development business. And I was just working away, and he was, really successful in business. And he was, he had just finished, doing a big run for Brendan Burchard, helping him get to his 1 million followers on Facebook, and had this really well connection, speaking on Celine Johnson's pages and those type of things. And so we met and just kind of hit it off. And then we went away from that mastermind. We followed up every 6 months or so. We would message. He would be somewhere in Europe. Picture watching a game. I'd be somewhere in Europe with a good friend of ours, both of ours, Mike Wolf, and I'd be sending pictures with him. And then all of a sudden, a couple of years back, he just asked he was needing some help in some of his marketing stuff for his company, Doback Digital Media at the time. And I was willing to help a hand, right? I had a guy that was a good designer on my team. He was helping with them. And then that moved into a relationship that he actually was asked me to come and partner with him fully to help run his operations and build his team. And so we a year and a bit ago. And then from there, we've launched a technology company called Influencer Soft, which is an amazing software that's coming on the scene really hard, really fast. And we're going to do some great things for the internet marketers and influencers out there. And so that's that side of my world, where we have a digital agency that works with clients all over the world at a really high level and helping them expand their influence. And then a mentoring business. So that's kind of the long-winded side of the two sides of it, but all of them come down to this scenario, both in Cardia, where we named it Heart, and both in Influencer Technologies. We're working with people and partners that actually care, that want to see the success of our customers, our clients, and are about making lasting impact, building something of significance, as I like to say. So I could keep going on and on about this stuff, but
well, the truth is that it's that's where we resonated as well, because it's within Jay's group, within Mike's group, for example, which Carolyn and I met through Mike, and everybody is in my world is in Calgary. It's kind of crazy. So
funny how that
nomads from
works, eh?
Calgary, right? So
Canadian.
you guys are a very nomadic bunch. But the holistic approach, that impact driven, that's really what resonated, and why initially, certainly for Carolyn and I, just such a funny thing that Carolyn and I start talking, and she's talking about her partner, and I'm like, hold on a minute, I think I know this guy. And then we ended up we were all on the same page, because at the end of the day, those heart-centered entrepreneurs, those holistically focused people that aren't just about the bottom line and dollar. Yeah, we all want to make money, but we also want to help other people make money. And it doesn't resonate with us if we don't help other people. Like, if my clients aren't thrilled, if my clients aren't getting the results they need, I don't care how much they're paying me, I'm not doing my job. And that just doesn't work for me. And that's exactly the way you are. It's not just like, you joined, you guys have a division, you were planning to set up a real estate brokerage. And we chatted and talked, and it ended up deciding to create a Cardia division through EXP. And part of what Bob Kern and you and I are all building in that direction is not just pulling people in and attracting talent, but attracting talent that matches our mindset. Because if you don't match the mindset, it's not going to resonate, and we're not going to be able to work together. So what's the point, right? So it's really important, is that holistic approach. And with your 11 divisions of Cardia now, and I'm sure that's just going to continue to grow, although there's only so many financial services divisions, but you could always have a tech division, and obviously you have that tech orientation too. I didn't realize that Influencer Soft, or that you and Jesse had really only started your partnership a year and a half ago. Now that project, I assume, was already in process, because it takes a while to build out a huge CRM like it is, right? Even though it's still being finessed and piloted and developed and rolled out. But tell us a little bit about when you came into that. Obviously he brought you in for marketing, but what is the goal with that product? Because it's an amazing all-in-one product that right now I believe is still available at a flat fee forever for life, correct?
Yeah, we're closing that down in the next few weeks, though. So we're moving away from the lifetime deal into the recurring monthly payments, but we're going to be very reasonable in the marketplace. Our concept is both Jesse and I and our team are marketers, right, at heart. That's what we want to be able to do. And so we came across, Jesse got introduced to a tool that was looking to expand out here, and we went into a partnership and an acquisition model to actually take it here and expand it and change it for the English-speaking market. And we've done a fantastic job, and we're continuing to build that out and add new features. I feel like one of the biggest differentiators is with us on that is we have a visual funnel builder. So you can actually see the entire funnel on one canvas, which is really game changing in the space, because a lot of times people had to use other softwares that didn't build the stuff. So they'd be back and forth between like 5 different softwares to get a funnel completed. For us, we could actually build it all on one canvas, see it all, see all the metrics. And it's really powerful. And the reason why we're excited about and the vision of having is that every entrepreneur needs some way of filtering their leads, how to nurture those leads, how to, create awesome landing pages and sales and marketing funnels. And we are always finding that when we're using all the other tools, we didn't really have control to change the things that we wanted to do. And so that's what we decided to do. We're going to, hey, let's do this together and let's build this thing out. And that's what we've been seeing, that we can build a software that people can use as an early stage entrepreneur that hasn't necessarily built up, so they can use it themselves intuitively. And then also for agencies and for people that run, big businesses like ourselves that have people on our platform, like the Sharon Lecters, and, we're working on conversations with Les Brown and Coach Carter, the real Coach Carter from the movie. When these people come onto our platform, we want to be able to also help them run their entire business that way as well. So it's a big vision for what we're doing and supporting that, which we're really excited about.
Again, I think that that's also the same, the same holistic, impact driven. It's a different, completely different product line, but it's still focused on that. So obviously this podcast is about investing across borders, and we've talked about you and under normal circumstances outside of COVID, how much extra outside of how much business you do outside of Canada, because obviously Canada is a small market, no matter who, no matter how you slice it, there's only good 30 million people. It's a tenth of the size of the monster to the south. And it doesn't play a huge role in the world market, right? It's a great country to live in, but in terms of market share and market impact, it just doesn't have it. So when did you start doing it? I mean, first, obviously you had some smaller businesses and you started expanding. When did you start really having to be in the US, as I know you've done even a couple of times through COVID, and then had to quarantine when you go back to Canada? But when did that all kind of start, and why did you realize that there was the need to do that?
Yeah, I think that I love doing business internationally, really, because I believe that whole idea of impact entrepreneurship feeds into that. This is something the world needs. I don't think it's necessarily a product of that. Canada is not a big enough market. People can spend their entire careers and build very large and successful businesses in a $30 million population. They can do it in a $10 million population. So for me, it's not necessarily about the need or the capital. Canada has an awesome economic growth and great opportunities for businesses to scale and grow. And we support a lot of local business, especially with my Canadian business. We're buying Christmas gifts locally. We're doing all that stuff to be able to feed that. But for me, the growth into different markets like the United States, which is, a big chunk of my business ventures and stuff, my partnership with Jesse, all that's based out of the United States, our marketing, our software, real estate that we're doing down there as well, is in the States. Because for me, as I said, my mission is to start as many companies as possible that can serve and support others. And that's not limited to Canada or the United States. We're in Mexico. We're looking at other areas around the world. And so that's really an exciting piece. And though I really, for the United States specifically going down there, is that there was a lot of opportunity in the space, the marketing space, the component of that transactional, switching that to that heart-centered base, right? You have an industrial, this economic engine of the United States that has been really doing it on a certain way for many, many years. And there's huge change that needs to happen in the way that we conduct business as a whole. And so United States is a great example of where this impact entrepreneurship and this focus on the things that, the economic side of it, the, environmental, the social impact of how our businesses can do in the world could really be a good moment there as well. And so I feel like our goal, our job, is our excitement of being in each of these markets is that each of them, they're humans, they're people that want change, that want to be supported. And we want to be able to, do our part to create momentum, to build it. And we're not going to be the only company that does it. And that's what we really hope we're not. We really want to be companies that just inspire other companies to do this same scenario of looking at giving back and serving and supporting their economy in a good way, in a positive way, and a not transaction, but more of that heart-centered side of it. So the more places we can start businesses in, the better. And if we can keep that momentum and that heart-centered path, I feel like a lot of companies are gonna follow.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's all about mindset, and heart-centered is mindset focused. I mean, every Monday we have within your organization, we do a mind mapping program where we have to have forward thinking and plan ahead and focus on the week and goals. And it's amazing. It's been made an amazing difference in my business to be a part of that and to be included in your bigger picture as well. And it certainly refocused all of my attention. Before you and Carolyn came into my life, and I had a great business, but COVID happened, and there was a lot of challenges of doing cross-border business for obvious reasons. People were scared, contracts fell apart, whatever. But at the end of the day, the silver lining of this whole thing has definitely been partnering with you guys and revamping or revitalizing or rethinking my model and focusing on real estate and investing across borders. Now, I was going to ask you about in terms of the US, like, do you find how different doing business in both countries, how different do you feel it is to do business in Canada with Canadians or do business in America with Americans? Is it as like, is it a huge difference? Do people approach business the same? What is your experience with that?
Honestly, I feel like it's, I haven't seen the massive difference between the two countries as in dealing with an American compared to a Canadian. I feel like I focus on that subset of people, those heart-centered, right? People. So that's that aspect of what we're trying to be able to do. I feel like that's the same heart wherever, whether I'm dealing with people down in the States, in Canada, in Mexico, where we primarily do a lot of business between those three countries right now. I feel like there's that same kind of mentality with those heart-centered people. They're all about trying to create win-wins, build those relationships, and how we grow and expand. I think obviously if you go down to the micro of like how you operate and run and set up your corporations and do that's obviously different between all three of the countries, right? Because they have different, bodies and all that kind of stuff. But from the actual people transitions and how I've worked with people, we've really been attracting those people that are like-minded across the board from a humanity standpoint, rather than like an actual, where you are from a globally, where are you, right? So.
And also you're in the Midwest, and I think that most of your current dealings are kind of like that corridor, right? So like here in Florida, it is a different experience, but most of our people are not from the Midwest. We won't say where they're from, but there is a different mentality. I at least find there to be a different mentality coming from a quote unquote Midwest city, being Toronto. And people, for me, the main difference is that community orientation. Yeah. Because in Canada, we are all like, it's about kind of that more socialist oriented model versus complete capitalist. And I think that that's the difference that I experience, is that Canadians, Torontonians, Calgarians around me at least, which is probably why I'm working with so many of you, tend to be more community focused. What is best for the win-win for everybody? Whereas my experience for the most part, being in America for 20 years has been that people are more out for themselves and what's in it for me, as opposed to what's in it for us. So that, you've been fortunate, but that's been my experience. Not always, but certainly yeah. I think that Canadians, whenever I'm talking to a Canadian, there's an automatic kinship. And for Canadians that are working with me to help them invest across borders, they quickly trust me because I am Canadian. So I know the model, I know the mentality, and I kind of, it's different. I'm not that American, even though I happen to be American. I am the Canadian American that can help ease the path to coming to the US. So that's been my experience.
Yeah, I feel like at the end of the day, I think you've probably been fortunate of who you've been attracting and putting the bubble up around who you're not allowing into your world. I feel like because at the end of the day, I've dealt with Canadians that I don't trust as business people at all, right?
They're not all great. I've been married to 2 of them, so.
There you go. So it's like one of those things. I feel like we as individuals, and as we start to grow and expand as heart-centered, is to pull away from this idea that it's like where you're from or what you're doing or what your nationality is or your gender has any dictation on your heart, right? And who you are. And so I feel like at the end of the day, like if you're going to go into it, set up intentions that no matter who you're dealing with, no matter where they are in the world, that you set attention that you only want to deal with those heart-centered people and those people that have, and follow that gut and those signs, right? It's really one of those things that it's, we have business partners, we have people that we work with literally from all the different corners of this world. And it depends, and they're all, I believe they're all good heart-centered entrepreneurs and people that want to make a difference. And so that's where I feel like when we're building and we're thinking, we need to be on that path. We need to focus on the things that we know can control. That's not necessarily like a bucketing a bunch of people into a category. Bucket people into categories of heart-centered people and non, right? And then really be gearing for entrepreneurs. And you're going to find them online, and you're going to find them by the way that they act. The stuff you're describing, that they're there for the win-wins, that they have, they put their time, money, and their effort into where their mouth is. They're not just talking, but they're taking action, right? How are they treating their team members if they have it? How are they treating their situations? Are they talking about the greater good or the bigger focus, or are they just talking about how they're, they made their big kill and they made a big deal and made all the money?
How much did you make?
Yeah, right. And to be very clear, heart-centered entrepreneurship has nothing to do with making less money or not focusing on making cash flow. I honestly, truly believe that impact entrepreneurship and heart-centered entrepreneurship will make more money in the next, decades of business than any other business that are there, because of the nature of it. If you're calling good things and creating win-wins, we're going to win. And I'll give you a short example of this. So been in the financial industry for over a decade now. When I was first getting started in Canada here, I'm not sure about in the States, but in Canada, they launched a thing called ethical funds. So there are investment funds, like mutual funds, that people could invest into that marked themselves as ethical. So they didn't invest in certain industries and certain things. They're just focusing on companies that are giving back and serving and supporting. And all the analysts and all the people are saying, sure, if you want to go invest in that, you're going to have to, sacrifice return over the long term, because of they're not going to have as much growth. They're not going to have all these different things. So almost all that time, we're saying, no, there's not going to be a good thing. Sure, do it because you want to feel good about where your money is, but it's not going to make you money. Well, rewind to today, there's reports out now that in the last decade, the best performing mutual funds and funds are ethical funds.
Interesting.
So what does that really show us? It teaches us that those heart-centered people are standing to what they believe in, that they know they're going to do good and they're going to get rewarded. And not only that, it's going to start changing the way that people think about business and how we operate business, so that they can start, oh, they're doing ethical and they're making more money. So all those money-driven people are going to start thinking, I have to be more ethical, even if it's not to my core, because I'm going to be able to make more money. And at the end of the day, to me, that would be a motion that we want to have happen, because it just shifts. That's how you have the shift of a whole generation or a whole country or a whole world.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And it is each person. It's not, you can't categorize or generalize. I agree with you. That's just, my experience has been, and always, I think always will be, this, it's my people. I'm Canadian at heart, and we're just brought up differently, and we have a different value system as Canadians. And it's just the difference between a melting pot versus, a tolerant society, kind of diversity and everything. So I wanted to mention something else. So when I first met you, I was very curious. I was like, how old is this guy? How old is this guy? Right? Because you're so wise and you have so much experience and you have had so much success and you are so driven and focused and work super hard. And when I realized that you're under 40, I was like, wow, this guy has by the time he's my age, he's going to be like, whoa, like the whole world is his oyster, as it already is. What drove you to, is it just from the time you were 14 and you felt your first taste of entrepreneurship and you just kind of ran with that? Because I could, you're one of those 40 under 40 people that will be in the news forever, and then 50 under 50, right? And so I just, was there something that specifically drove you to do this, or did you just have this pull or your gut, or what?
I feel like it's, when you ask those questions, I don't have a pinpointed scenario. Besides, I just know that I love the experience of seeing change and changing people's lives and seeing that impact that we're able to give and do, right? And so I remember in the first kind of aspects, and when I actually first got into the financial services industry as well, very driven and opportunities to grow in this industry. And I remember I was very blessed to be mentored by somebody that was really a heart-centered human being that wanted to support people. And so when she was teaching me financial services, it was all about how we benefit every one of our clients, regardless of where their economic standing is. And so I remember going into families and seeing, just work with them. They're fully in the red, struggling, to get by and raise their family. And, within one meeting or two meetings, we're able to put them in the black and show them ways quickly, by just pure education and understanding how this money game works, get them in a position that literally I'd have people across the table crying of relief that this has happened to them. And so for me, that was a massive driving force, that if we have a focus to do good, we can go out there and make massive impact. And then I was always told along the way, like, oh, because I was always wanting to do a bunch of different things. And people said, well, you have to focus on one, because if you focus on one thing, then you can, be good at that. And that's your path. And I felt that it was not correct for me, because every time I'd focus on one thing, I'd get bored to tears. And then I wouldn't even it wouldn't be as driven. So I think I needed to learn. I started a whole bunch of companies and been involved with a whole bunch of things. And that wasn't the answer either, because it wasn't in the same direction as where we want to be able to go. And so now I feel, with what I'm doing and focusing on impact entrepreneurship, focusing on the businesses that are close to my heart, like that marketing and letting people get their voices out there in our influential technologies businesses is powerful. And Cardia and that heart-centered approach and really changing a financial industry. And all of our team calls and our process, I always say, we are here to change statistics, right? Financial literacy. And if we can change that statistics, we're going to have more and more people on an actual stat wise be better off financially. And so that's their target. It's not about how much money did you make, or mortgage brokers or anything like that. It's how did we change the impact in the entire country? Right. And we're going to measure our success based on that over the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years. And so the drive for me is about that. I have an ability to attract and grow and scale. So this world needs that. And so that's, it's more of like that obligation to go out there and do it. And be excited about it, and give my life to this pursuit of making lasting impact in people's lives.
Christan, I think that you've had an impact on my life, and I appreciate you. And one day soon in Cabo, we will meet in person. Believe it or not, we've created this amazing partnership and never met in person. Another silver lining of COVID. And I think that probably have built a relationship that may not have been built as easily in person, because we have no choice but to rely on these means of communication. It's been awesome. It's been awesome getting to know you. It's been awesome becoming a part of your life and joining and, building something amazing together. How would my listeners get in touch with you, especially those that are interested in this amazing influencer soft product that you have, or the Canadians that are interested in participating in one of your financial services divisions? Or, as Christan kind of alluded to, they're building some amazing developments in Mexico, the Cardia group, and there's opportunities to invest in those opportunities as well. I myself am an investor, and I'm very happy to be that. And I'm helping this company to expand its footprint across borders, and helping Christan as well. And we'll be working on that in the new year. But how do people reach you?
I think it's the easiest is to go to probably on Facebook or Instagram. My name is Christan Hiscock, but it's not Christian, it's Christan. So Christan, Hiscock, Hiscock. And I'm the only ones on any of those platforms with that name, so you can find me easily. And then you can definitely reach out and follow up, and trying to put more content out on my Instagram and bit on Facebook. And I'm just trying to get out there and share the message that there's opportunity for all of you to grow and scale and to build a business, build a life of purpose, right? Yeah. I feel everything that we're doing and where we're talking about, what we're trying to build is about helping you guys create fulfillment in your life. Right. I have this thing that says at the bottom of some of my emails, it says success is meaningless without fulfillment. And because fulfillment is that internal measure of where you are at in life, and no one else can dictate that, tell you what it is or isn't. Whereas success is really dictated by your surroundings and the people around you, and they can tell you whether they're successful or not in their eyes. But at the end of the day, all of that is irrelevant if you're not fulfilled. So I feel like throughout all the process, follow that, check out, we're releasing a book this year on the topic, Vision into Action, a guide to fulfillment. And it's just going to be talking about my journey and where it's came, and why I believe that fulfillment is the key to all of your happiness, because it just purely is, right? That's our internal measure of who we are, we stand for, and it matters, right? You matter as a listener, and what you're here to do on this planet, and what you're doing, whether that's to build an international massive company, or whether that is to be a fantastic father to your kids and go do your job in your local town or your small town and come home and just be an amazing father. Those two things are just as big of a mission in life, because if they're your mission and it's your life, that's what you need to live. And that's exciting to me. So.
And also one last thing, thank you. You're so right. Cardia is spelled with a K, Kardia, and you can find Cardia Financial on Instagram and Facebook and every which way. And there's some great shows. They do a Friday show on Instagram, and I think you do some shows and some lives on Instagram and Facebook, and it's definitely worth watching. There's always a heart-centered message. Kristen, thank you for your time. Thank you for being in my life. Thank you for being my partner. Happy holidays to you, Carol, and all the kids. And I look forward to 2021 on so many levels, like we all do.
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Take care.